Okay. Now let's revise animal tissues. So animal tissues are divided into 4 important types: epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, nervous tissue, and connective tissue. Epithelial tissue forms the covering tissue of the body. Both inside and outside of our body is covered by the epithelial tissue. Muscular tissue is mainly concerned with movement. So this is the tissue which helps us to move. Nervous tissue helps us to sense and to control and coordinate our body. So we are feeling things because of nervous tissue. Then the connective tissue, it connects various parts of the body together. But for the exam, since we are not having connective tissue, we will be discussing only the first two. Now, epithelial tissue is the simplest of animal tissues. Then, it is of different types based on its shape and its function. There are different types. First one is squamous epithelial cells. They are flat epithelial cells. It's arranged like tiles on the floor, compactly arranged without any space, and that is called as squamous epithelial tissue. In epithelial tissue, it is arranged, these cells are arranged on a basement membrane which is formed of proteins. That's the grip our body tissue back tissue connect. So squamous tissue is formed of flat cells. Where can we find squamous tissue? We can find squamous tissue inside our buccal cavity, inner part, foot pipe, blood vessels, alveoli of lungs. All these parts are having squamous tissue. Now, this squamous tissue multi-layered skin, so that it can protect us from wear and tear. Protect multi-layered and stratified squamous epithelial tissue. Cuboidal cells in square cells epithelium cuboidal epithelial tissue. Cuboidal epithelial tissue it is usually seen in salivary glands. Then kidney next tubules kidney with the nephrons structure. Our structure in the tubule region like the cuboidal epithelial cells. So its function is made. So squamous in the function protection, and cuboidal in the main function it helps secretion. Secretion help absorb the excretion helps. So columnar is the third type. These are tall pillar-like cells. Usually it is present in the alimentary canal. The alimentary canal is a long tube extended from mouth to anus. For mouth, buccal cavity region, food pipe, squamous epithelial cells. But when we reach the stomach region and intestine, it is having more of columnar epithelial cells. Okay, so its function is secretion, absorption, all these other functions. Now comes ciliated epithelial cells. Actually, ciliated epithelial cells are modified cuboidal or columnar epithelial cells. This is another modification. When they have cilia, that is small hair-like structures, on its surface, it is called a ciliated epithelium. The function is internal organs, tubular internal organs, it is having a coating of mucus. Mucus is produced. So, that mucus is push forward, move ciliated epithelium function. It is present in the inner ear. In the windpipe, nasal passage, fallopian tube, and ciliated epithelium. Then glandular epithelium is also modified cuboidal or columnar epithelium. They are present in the glands and they are concerned with secretions. Sensory epithelium is a modified epithelial cell. These cells are connected with the nerves or the neurons. So they help us to know our environment. So where can we find them? We will find them in all 5 sense organs. Which are the 5 sense organs? Skin, eyes, ears, nose and tongue. So in all these regions we can find sensory epithelium. So it helps us to sense the surrounding. Then comes the muscular tissue, which is mainly concerned with movement. Muscle movement skeletal skeletal system ആണോ അല്ലെ muscular system ആണോ movement help ചെയ്യുന്നത്? Actually the movement is brought by muscles, but when it is attached to skeleton the parts are moved. That's so muscular tissue is concerned with movement. Why the muscle cells are capable of movement? Because it is formed of a protein. It consists of certain proteins called as contractile proteins. So it can contract, the cells can contract and relax. Contain two proteins called as actin and myosin. And because of the presence of these two muscle proteins, the muscle cells can contract and relax and bring about movement. Based on where they are present and the type of cell and all, there are three types: striated, unstriated and cardiac muscle. Striated muscle is also called striated. Striation means lines in another. So these muscle cells have lines on them like this. So dark light in a lines full. So they are called as striated muscle. They are always seen attached to the skeleton or the bone. So it is also called skeletal muscle. Then it can be controlled by us, by our will. By the kai move cheyunnathu is striated muscle kanonu, because when I want to move I can move it. So anganeyulla muscle na nammal voluntary muscle nu parayum. So striated muscle is also called skeletal muscle or voluntary muscle. The cell is like this. It is a long elongated cell having many nucleus. Peripheries muscle surface il pole കാണുന്ന nucleus multi-nucleated ആണ്. Many nucleus are seen. ഈ muscle cells ഇതിൽ മാത്രമേ എന്തുള്ളൂ multi-nucleated property ഉള്ളൂ. So this is having many nucleus in it. You can see striations. It is seen attached to the skeleton. So limbs കയ്യിലും കാലിലും ഒക്കെ ഉള്ള muscles എന്താണ്? Striated muscles ആണ്. And it can be controlled by our will. So it is called voluntary muscle. Then comes the unstraighted muscle. Unstraighted എന്ന് പറയാനുള്ള കാരണം എന്താണ്? There is no striation. Now what is the shape? ഇതാണെങ്കിൽ long cylindrical ആണ്. ഇത് striated. But unstraighted is spindle shape. ഈ ഷേപ്പിനാണ് spindle shape എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. So it is spindle shape, elongated but not cylindrical. It is spindle shape. No striations are there. You can see only a single nucleus and its movements cannot be controlled by us. So it is also called as involuntary muscles. It is present in the smooth internal organs. So it is also called smooth muscles. So our internal organs which cannot be controlled by us. Our elementary canal movement control. So in such parts we can find smooth muscle, unstraighted muscle. The same sana. Unstraighted muscle is also called involuntary muscle or the smooth muscle. This one. So that is present. Now coming to കണ്ണിന്റെ അകത്ത് ഐറിസ് അല്ല, there is a dark region called iris. അതിന് നമ്മൾ സെന്ററിൽ നമുക്കൊരു പ്യൂപ്പിൾ പറഞ്ഞൊരു പാർട്ടുണ്ട്. സോ അത് ചില നേരത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഡിം ലൈറ്റ് നിൽക്കുമ്പോൾ അത് ലാർജ് ആയിരിക്കും, നല്ല ബ്രൈറ്റ് ലൈറ്റ് വന്നാൽ അത് സ്മോൾ ആവും. സോ അതിന്റെയൊക്കെ മൂവ്മെന്റ് കൺട്രോൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന മസിൽസ് ആണ് സറൗണ്ടിങ്. അതൊക്കെ സ്മൂത്ത് മസിലാണ്, കാരണം നമ്മൾ പോലും അറിയാണ്ടാണ് അതൊക്കെ കൺട്രോൾ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ അവിടെയൊക്കെ ഉള്ളത് അൺസ്ട്രൈറ്റഡ് മസിൽ. Now comes cardiac muscle. This is present, can be found only in one part of the body, that is the heart. So heart is having special type of muscles called as cardiac muscle. The specialty is that they are from the birth to the death of the person, they are continuously functioning. They do rhythmic contraction and relaxation. They contract and relax throughout the lifetime of a person, and this is present in the heart. So when this cardiac muscle stop function, the person will die. So it is continuously working. Now what are the specialities of the cell here? They are elongated cell, but they are short cells. They are showing striation, but it is not dark striation, but faint striations. They have only one nucleus. So in the character, ഇത് രണ്ടിന്റെയും കൂടെ mix-up ആണ്. Elongated ആണ്, പക്ഷെ short ആണ്. So elongated is this. നമ്മൾ സ്ട്രൈറ്റഡിന്റെ ഒരു ക്യാരക്ടറാണ്, പക്ഷെ അത് ഷോർട്ടാണ്. സ്ട്രേഷൻസ് ഉണ്ട്, പക്ഷെ ഇറ്റ്സ് നോട്ട് ദാറ്റ് ഡാർക്ക് സ്ട്രേഷൻസ്. സോ ന്യൂക്ലിയസ് ഈസ് സിംഗിൾ ന്യൂക്ലിയസ് ലൈക്ക് ദാറ്റ് ഓഫ് സ്മൂത്ത്നെസ്, ആൻഡ് ഇറ്റ് ക്യാൻ ബി പ്രസന്റ് ഓൺലി, ഇറ്റ് ക്യാൻ ബി ഫൗണ്ട് ഓൺലി ഇൻ ദ ഹാർട്ട്, ആൻഡ് ഇറ്റ് കെ നോട്ട് ബി കൺട്രോൾഡ് ബൈ അവർ വിൽ. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ഇറ്റ്സ് ഓൾസോ ആൻ ഇൻവോളണ്ടറി ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് മസിൽ. നൗ കംസ് the third one, that is the nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is present in our body in which all parts? The brain, spinal cord, the nerves, and in the sense organ regions you can find the nervous tissue. So nervous tissue is formed of nerve cells or neurons. This is structure of neuron. This is very important because in 10th standard again you have the chapter called as control and coordination. So you will have to study sometimes. So otherwise you have to know this structure very well. So this is the structure of a single cell, that is a nerve cell. So nerve cell is having three important regions. A main part called as the cytone or the cell body. From there arises many branches. Short branches are called as dendrons. Dendron again branch into finer branches called as dendrites. Then there is a single long branch called as axon. Axon ending, axon nose. So to this is connected the next neuron. But there is a short gap between one neuron and the next. We call it as a synapse. Okay. Axon is covered by a protective fatty layer called as a myelin sheath. So what is the function of neuron? It helps to transmit impulses. Impulses are sent through this, or the messages are sent through the neuron. So the message is received by, or the impulse is received by the dendron, that's its function. Then it is processed in the cytone or the cell body. Then it is given to axon. Axon will carry it to, or it will be transmitted to the next neuron by axon. So this is the parts and functions of the neuron. So this is all about animal tissue.